before I knew it, he was dead, bleeding like hell down on the floor. Next thing I know, the police kicking in my door with the shackles. Got me in chains just like a slave, man. Without my freedom, I might as well be in the grave. Took me to the car, at that moment I'm in the system. A nigga got to have an attorney for them to listen. They locked me up, had no time to plead my case. The judge and the jury gave me 40 years to face. And now I'm sitting in a cell that's real cold. They put me in these goddamn scrubs and took my clothes. I toss and turn, back and forth, they got me pacing. I'm stuck up in this so-called rehabilitation. A nigga got to think of a plan for my escape and quickly buck the system with a smooth jailbreak.
Jailbreak, 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 jailbreak.
Oil says this 420 event is not it.
1 year later, I finally found a way to get out. Can't let nobody know, so nobody will run their mouth. I took all my belongings and stuffed them down in the bag. A shank stuck in the book and some cigarettes that I had. I waited till the guard at the corner was by himself. I covered up his mouth and started shaking until his death. I pulled him to the side and I stripped him of all his clothes and hit the dead body so that no one would know. I flew back to my cell and slipped down.
Oil says, I'm getting stoned with some homeless dude who popped out a tent in Fitzy Gardens.
I hope nobody spot me and attempt to go and tell. I'm walking through the door and approaching the outside. And in the parking lot, I'm expecting to see my ride. My girlfriend driving the car to my escape. And no one even knows how I accomplished the jailbreak.
Jailbreak, 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 jailbreak.
Falling down the highway, sweating, getting out of them clothes. Bags packed in the trunk when the siren blows. You can hear the loud horn made for miles around. Trying to let the whole world know I got on down. Paranoid like a junkie as we punch the gas. All of a sudden in the rear view, them blue lights flash. Suck my gun out the window, started letting off shots. Too late to turn back, nigga, fuck the cops. My girl was getting shaky, have you lost your mind? If we turn around now, bitch, we gon' do some time. At that moment, the bitch hit the brakes, we had to stop. Because them damn police done set up a roadblock. Now at that very second, I knew that I was gone. Then my woman woke me up and she turned the lights on. She said, are you okay? I said, baby, I'm straight. Just had a bad dream that I pulled the jailbreak.
Jailbreak, 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 jailbreak,
Yeah. Okay, so the website works. The website works. It needs this layout at the moment is fucking whack. We need to tech it and make it look real crazy. Happy 420, everyone. It's a time now. 31. Okay, Alright, we're gonna sorry dudes, we're gonna play pH balance. I totally forgot. This song's by popular demand. So it's called pH Balanced. My Player G, 1998, you know my lady. He's been on some funky shit this whole time. Let's go.
Talking about me, constant grinning in my face, but don't give a fuck about me. Talking about you don't like my music. As soon as I write one line, you trying to use it, nigga, stay the hell away from me, cause it ain't good to be around.
Reload on that. What up, Spazzy? Cheers for the sub, bro. You're an absolute legend, brother. Alright, you ready? Hear this? This is a good fucking track, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, we've brought that PIFF back from the dead. It's a glorious day, this 420.
You niggas keep me on your mind all the time. Talking about me, constant grinning in my face, but don't give a fuck about me. Talking about you don't like my music. As soon as I write one line, you trying to use it, nigga, stay the hell away from me, cause it ain't good to be around all that jealousy. I never seen a nigga keep a nigga name in his mouth. Wanna play, I hate my city cause I represent the South. Real niggas don't gossip like hoes. Treat so-called friends like foes. Niggas get about your paper, make your skrilla stack.
Bro, this is a track, huh? Wait, I'm reloading this, bro. Damn. This might be the tune of the day.
Talking about me, constant grinning in my face, but don't give a fuck about me. Talking about you don't like my music. As soon as I write one line, you trying to use it, nigga, stay the hell away from me, cause it ain't good to be around all that jealousy. I never seen a nigga keep a nigga name in his mouth. Wanna play, I hate my city cause I represent the South. Real niggas don't gossip like hoes. Treating so-called friends like foes. Niggas get about your paper, make your skrilla stack, and get that rust ass machete from about my back. You young buckers wanna talk about a nigga's skills. That same nigga broke his hell trying to pay his bills. Don't be so worried about the level of a nigga talent. Know what I call niggas like y'all? That nigga pH balance.
pH balance. Oh. Yo, who requested this song? Wait, Ginny, that's what's up, bro.
Motherfucker, I hope you in the race the way you run your cocksucker every day. You trait, true faker. You need to take my name from up under your house shaker. Need to drop your pride and gon' admit that you a fan of mine and wanna roll with my clique, but instead you lie. and backbite. Still a nigga fame like a thief in the night. Man, I don't understand what you get out of dog a nigga name. To some funky ass trick, need to leave. Player G, out the picture. You keep on running your mouth. And watch me get you Leah D. Oh, hey, dead on the rabble.
Bro, Oil says, what is the 420 event you're at, bro? Did you go to that park? What's the park called? Is it Flemington Park? No, what park's that called? Flagstaff Gardens, bro. This is a tune.
12 noon on my watch, damn, I'm late for the studio. Tell the freaky hoe in my bed that she got to go. Jump in the shower, let the zest get me squeaky clean. Brush my teeth and quickly gargle with the Listerine. Jump in the rat and break bad to my destination. I don't do this shit for fame, this is my occupation. Call Skinny on the phone to see if he at home. Gotta do this song, cause if we don't, that means my money's gone. Fast cash never lasts in this industry. Cause once you get it, just like slavery is history. It takes time to put 6 digits on the check. Cause if it don't, man, don't you know everybody be riding a Lex. That's why I got to do this shit expeditiously. Gotta take care of business, time is running out in Tennessee. Get about your paper, that's the bottom line of this rhyme. Black people better think you running out of time. Some people gotta have it.
This dude's getting funky on every chorus. Oh, fantastic. See, look at how goofy this looks now. It's 404 in. Search works, browse. Browse works. We need to fix this up. I don't like the curved edges. Curved edges gotta go. Curved edges gotta go. And I don't want to just keep getting dumped with these mixtapes. I want it to switch up. We need to have like a random selection at the top. Just like a top bar that just like maybe a top. Look. We'll have the top 10 ones up here. Be random, I reckon. Or should it be from a random generation? 2010s, 90s. What do you reckon? We need to get rid of them curved edges, but Hood Music 51, bro. This dude did the same thing last time. He just
Hood Music, you pussy.
he just uploaded it all as one file.
Yeah. Niggas can't fuck with me, nigga. You know niggas in rare form getting real money, real bags, nigga. Real
Oil says doing.
Doing, bro. I'm recreating that PIFF website, pulling all the data and fuck putting it in a new website.
But I ain't changing my clothes till I'm done with those O's. I done ran up a stupid bag right under your nose. Need another truck for the summer. I wanna go Rolls. My nigga from Memphis got real cheddars. That nigga ate in Tennessee, Will Levis. They say I'm one of the best, but I still don't get real credit. Hope them niggas added more layers to their little vests. If it's something we'll address it. it. Hope you getting the message. It's a big difference between the big puns and little X's. Yeah, big gun leave real messes. Lady seen his brain splatter that made her throw up her breakfast. We killers, but getting this money my real preference. Remember scraping the bowl, trying to get the little extras. We gon' slide, we gon'
Yo,
motherfucker, we gon' score.
Sam, I'm on stream, brother.
Drum work, bitch.
These niggas gotta read the room, man. Hey, yo, Don. Machine. Let's give them that chaos. Climbing this ladder of success. While people are trying to swipe at your heels and shake the...
This is pretty tech, man. I need to fix up the UI on this, but so far it's come alright. I need to fix up this. This dude's uploaded his name as Peeny Crack. It's actually Petey Crack. Come on, bro. Oh no, this dude has actually called himself Peeny Crack. No, bro. No, bro. We've got to have yeah, I want specific years. I want specific years. I want to be able to go 2010, 2011. Do you know what I mean? And this floating thing here is no good, man. That is no good. Where was the dude before that we had up?
Oil says, I didn't know they closed Pangy store.
Yeah, man, yeah, a while ago.
So it's kind of crazy what you can build these days.
So going back to Eagle Eye, I want to reproduce that effect where you've got your friendlies that are going behind a container and suddenly you see them turn into stick figures because a drone on the other side is actually observing them, highlighting the enemy that they were about to take down. How do we reproduce that?
Yo, what are you doing?
Well, once you know where the glasses are in 3D
What is
space,
this doing?
you
It's
also know
tripping out.
exactly
What
where
is
they're looking,
this?
so you know the orientation and position of everything that is localized against this 3D map. And of course, you can add other devices.
Yo, what the
too. Your friend's
fuck?
phone,
This
another
thing's
pair of glasses, a
tripping
security camera,
out.
the list goes on. All of
What
these
is this
cameras
conversation
need
it's
to be
having with
anchored to
itself?
the same 3D model. Think of it like everyone's sharing the same spatial understanding. Everyone's in the same world space.
Yo,
coordinates,
what
and
is
you can
this,
figure
bro?
out where everything is relative to
Can
each
everyone
other.
see
This
this?
kind of feels like that Batman
The
scene,
user will see
except
the
instead of
change.
sonar,
Yes, I think
we're
it's
actually
fine.
using
Yes.
RGB cameras. And this is the moment. It started feeling like we could actually reproduce Eagle Eye using
I think
consumer
that's it.
hardware,
Yes,
because
let me
you've got
write
a
it.
pair of
Yes, the
glasses
assistant
strapped,
response
suddenly
tool.
all I
Yes,
need
this
is my
system.
friend holding
Yes,
the phone
perfect.
to
Yes,
see
yes,
exactly
yes,
where
yes.
he's going in
What
the
is
home,
this
whether it's upstairs, downstairs, around the wall,
convo, bro?
everything
That is
becomes visible.
cooked.
Suddenly, the unseen becomes seen.
Look at that whole convo right there.
Now, you might be wondering,
That is
why the hell
stupid.
can't you use GPS to do it? Well, I would encourage you to try. We're talking about a couple meters of positional accuracy and 20 to 30 degrees
That's
of
absolutely
rotational
ridiculous,
accuracy
that.
actually degrades even more when you're in an urban corridor, like a downtown area, for example. Again, I go into a lot more detail of how this works and how VPS fixes it in my previous video. But the most important point for us is also that GPS is kind of useless inside a building. Like, your Uber driver that's circling the garage wondering where the hell you are knows this. You walking across a building and suddenly seeing your blue dot violently move around, you know this too. GPS.
That's what we
actually
needed to.
uses-
That's what
well,
we needed to do.
use Eagle Eye, and I can visualize it using my
This. See this part. Where is it? This part.
beyond
Here.
its cost.
This part here,
Google
bro.
has a solution to this problem that uses all of the street view imagery.
Yo,
over
Paulie
100
Child, what up,
countries
brother?
based
Shout outs
on
to
a
you.
local 3D
Much
model
love.
that you can
Steez.
match your camera views to.
Thank you for the sub.
I had a chance to work on it, and it's called the AR Core Geospatial API. If you want to learn more about it, you can check out this prior video.
This
over here.
this
But
thing
what
here,
if you
bro.
want to unlock VPS in an area where there is no street view? For example, your own home,
This
perhaps a business, a campus, a range of private spaces and places for which no street view imagery exists.
that paired with fucking people are gonna be able to fucking track down streamers exactly where they are from that. They already do that anyway. But somebody will be able to write a code. Oh, a code. Someone will be able to write code that will be able to live map all the streamers without needing their GPS data or anything. Just from the frames of their video. We'll be back.
Private spaces and places for which no street view imagery exists. To solve this particular problem, I'm going to be using multi-set AI. And in my opinion, they are one of the best options out there for this kind of private VPS use case. And I particularly like them for this example because they're the only ones right now publicly supporting the Meta Ray-Ban SDK. And what's really wild is company's like a year old and they've already earned a most robust rating in Area's 2025 Enterprise Report, ahead of other incumbents that have been in the space for many, many years, such as Niantic. And critically, they let me actually run this damn thing on Ray-Bans without rewriting the whole SLAM stack. And what's really wild about this tech is you get centimeter level localization accuracy and it works during the day or at night. I mean, like, this blows my mind because if you think about the visual effects problem of lining up a 3D scan with what your camera is seeing, that is this like complicated offline pipeline. These things are capable of doing it in real time, day or night, on a frickin' cell phone. So going back to Eagle Eye, I want to reproduce that effect where you've got your friendlies that are going behind a container and suddenly you see them turn into stick figures because a drone on the other side is actually observing them, highlighting the enemy that they were about to take down. How do we reproduce that using our technology? Well, once you know where the glasses are in 3D space, you also know exactly where they're looking. So you know the orientation and position of everything that is localized against this 3D map. And of course, you can add other devices too. Your friend's phone, another pair of glasses, a security camera, the list goes on. All of these camera views will be anchored to the same 3D model. Think of it like everyone's sharing the same spatial understanding. Everyone's in the same world space coordinates, and you can figure out where everything is relative to each other. To me, this kind of feels like that Batman scene, except instead of sonar, we're actually using RGB cameras. And this is the moment it started feeling like we could actually reproduce Eagle Eye using consumer hardware. Because if you got the pair of glasses tracked, suddenly all I need is my friend holding a phone to see exactly where he's going in the home, whether it's upstairs, downstairs, around a wall, everything becomes visible. Suddenly the unseen becomes seen. Now, you might be wondering, why the hell can't you use GPS to do it? Well, I would encourage you to try. We're talking about a couple meters of positional accuracy and 20 to 30 degrees of rotational accuracy that actually degrades even more when you're in an urban corridor, like a downtown area, for example. Again, I go into a lot more detail of how this works and how VPS fixes it in my previous video. But the most important point for us is also that GPS is kind of useless inside a building. Like, your Uber driver that's circling the garage wondering where the hell you are knows this. You walking across a building and suddenly seeing your blue dot violently move around, you know this too. GPS also really only gives you a very coarse idea of which floor you're on, but VPS can tell you everything. It's centimeter accurate and indoor, and you can do it without beacons. Since we've got everything scanned, you put a camera anywhere and you can figure out precisely where it is, which floor, which part of the room, and even what they're looking at. I mean, check this out. I could literally see Sham walking into the room, going around the wall because like his glasses are telling me his 3D location, and I can visualize it using my freaking smartphone. That's absolutely nuts. You see Sham come back out and suddenly it'll go from the stick figure view to him in real life. And it's kind of trippy to see like the actual first person view, right? Like, so here you can see the camera view for us, like each of the frames that are actually getting localized by multiset to give us the 3D location. Almost like we're in this like third person view trailing Sham as he's walking down the streets. And this point cloud view kind of gives you a sense of the kind of feature that these algorithms are looking at to match and figure out exactly where you are. It's a little more complicated than that, but that'll help you build an intuition for sort of what's happening under the hood. And think of how powerful this is. Like now when we're looking at this from a completely different perspective, perspective, you can see the exact trajectory and orientation, right? Like the exact position and orientation of Sham as he's walking down the street. So we can see him through walls. That's nuts. And we're using like off-the-shelf hardware to do this. This is absolutely insane. And since we're talking about multi-story navigation here, once you got a place scanned, Sham can be literally walking around inside the house. Like he's on the balcony over here and he walks inside and suddenly I could be on the street level like this, looking at him, be able to see where he is in 3D space. Think of how useful this is for situational awareness and so many other applications. Beyond us cosplaying a tech thriller over here, there are actually utilitarian use cases for this technology, such as, quite literally, a utility crew. Like imagine you're a field service expert on an oil rig going through a maintenance checklist. When you walk up to a piece of equipment, you can immediately see the information about that pop up. A remote expert that might be sitting in Germany can be looking at that piece and literally annotate over your field of view and actually create those annotations in world space. This is actually one of the first projects I had a chance to work on back in 2014 that you can see inset over here. And then when the next crew comes in, they see all of that data spatially overlaid, whether they're at a place or looking at it remotely. Another use case is indoor wayfinding. Gosh, you're in a mall, you're in an airport, you're in a campus, you're in a complicated indoor labyrinth, and you want to figure out how the hell to get to your final destination. Well, you can now be routed in 3D with VPS. Think of this not just useful for humans to understand where the other humans are, but for robots to understand where the other humans are. And for humans to understand where the robots are. Suddenly, all of us are going to be tracked in the same 3D map. But it's not just humanoid robots or robotic dogs. Imagine cars, imagine drones. Every single self-driving vehicle has a version of VPS running under the hood. Drones require this sort of technology to be able to fly around in war zones where GPS is actively being jammed. But you also need it to understand where the frick your backyard is and where the frick your front door is so the robot drops off the right thing at the right place in 3D. So take a step back and just imagine this running on every sensor in a city simultaneously. Every movement, every gaze, every interaction will be anchored to a persistent 3D map. And we'll do it privately in our homes and publicly in open spaces. I mean, think of it like when you're on the highway, you probably want to share the 3D location of the cars around you so you know how to drive around each other. But when you're in your home, you only want to share that with your own personal robot, for example. When you're in a factory floor, all that data is going to be tightly access controlled and only accessible to employees that have the right sort of access. Now, what's particularly cool about this is like VPS is advanced to a point where you can just use pixels to localize yourself. Now, if you have a coarse GPS prior, or if you have other sensors like an IMU, like your cell phone does, or robotic sensors do, that's even better. But you can start just with pixels. That makes this dream of taking all the sensors that already exist and infusing spatial intelligence into them and makes it a hell of a lot more practical. Now, as it goes with most dual-use technology, this is also where it starts sounding a little bit creepy. The same capability that lets a crew track where their locations are so they have operational and situational awareness is the same technology a building owner could track every single step. And my God, if you've stepped inside a grocery store lately, they probably already are, literally creating heat map metrics, much like you do on websites, but in spatial 3D, so you can figure out where are users dwelling the most, what are the products they're looking at the most. All of this is possible today. But see, this is also the crazy part. This was technology that was relegated to very high-end defense contractors and high-end enterprises. Now you can just go get a pair of glasses and start doing this yourself. Heck, you could start doing it with a couple of iPhones right now. And of course, you don't have to use a publicly available VPS. You don't have to use Niantic or Google if you don't want to. You can use a private VPS like Multiset, so you scan the spaces and places that you care about, and you actually own your data. And heck, if a private cloud deployment isn't enough for you, you can even go a step further and get a on-premise deployment too, where you can be truly sure that the data is yours and nobody else is looking at all the localization tracks. Now look, there's so many other players in this space. Folks like Niantic are trying to figure out how to apply neural nets to this whole problem and figure out how to basically reverse engineer what Rainbolt does with geoguessing and figure out how an AI system could do similar approximation when it has an incomplete map of a space or place. Alright, so to wrap things up, I went into this wanting to see if I could pull off eagle-eye style tracking off a 200 pair of glasses you can get at Best Buy. Turns out you basically can. And the camera is all you need. No fancy sensors. Just a pre-scanned map of the place, which you can literally do with your frickin' iPhone as well. Create a beautiful Gaussian splat so you can remotely monitor all the tracks relative to that 3D location. Or pull out your phone and literally see your friends through the walls. So yes, hardware is hard. And let me tell you, hardware will come and go. I've been working in AR of VR since, what, 2013 at this point? And gosh, given how far we've gotten, it feels like there's a lot longer to go. But in my opinion, the next 5 years of augmented and virtual reality won't be one purely on hardware. They'll be one on the spatial map that pulls all these systems together. Bilal signing off, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Cheers. Our boy Jensen, dripped out in his new leather jacket, donned the stage for the opening keynote and proclaimed that physical AI is the next big thing. So, what on earth is physical AI? Why are they all in? And what does it mean for the rest of us? I'm going to break all of that down and tell you why it's not only important for robotics, but also augmented and virtual reality and geospatial intelligence capabilities. I'm also going to weave in my insights sitting down with NVIDIA's VP of Omniverse and VP of XR technology. But first, let's listen to how Jensen defines the various waves of AI and where we're headed next.
AI has been advancing at an incredible pace since. Started with perception AI. We now can understand images and words and sounds. To generative AI. We can generate images and text and sounds. And now, agentic AI. AIs that can perceive, reason, plan, and act. And then the next phase, some of which we'll talk about tonight, physical AI.
Perceive, reason, plan, and act. When he's talking about that with agentic AI, right? Like basically you could think of physical AI or robotics really as agentic AI embodied in the physical world, where you're mapping the world, you're perceiving what's in it, you're perhaps planning some set of actions, and then you're executing those actions and kind of doing that in a recursive loop again and again. And so agents can do that in the world of bits on our computers, taking control of everything that we can do on any type of digital system. We need the ability to do that in the physical world too, and that's where physical AI comes in. But let's be honest, controlling a cursor and a mouse and, doing function calling and using a bunch of APIs and tools or whatever to do things inside the digital world is a lot more constrained and easier of a problem than dealing with the messy physical world. So one of the reasons that most large language models are pretty competitive is they've largely got the same training data to work with. In other words, these generative AI models are trained largely off of scraping the public internet, right? And then augmented with some licensed data sets and synthetic data sets. But largely, we're talking about the public web, the text, image, and now slowly the video content that's in it too. But there's actually not that much real world data. This is where companies like Tesla and Google have a huge advantage. Tesla has a fleet of vehicles that are constantly mapping and remapping the world with these noisy sensors, but they're doing it at scale. Or companies like Google that use really expensive sensors to map the world at a regular cadence have a huge advantage. Now, I spent 6 years at Google, and 4 of those were working on Google Maps, and let me tell you, 98% of the world population is covered by Google's data. That is absolutely insane, and from that, you can